Hello, this is Kara Martinez, and this is an overview of where I am with my evaluability assessment of tutoring at South Plains College. Tutoring began officially in 1980 at the college. In 1979, we hired Dr. Gail Malone under a grant, and she was a reading specialist. And the department chair for the social science department asked if she could assess reading for students, and she said yes, and he asked her to assess the reading skills for all social science majors at the college. He felt like there was a deficiency and some help in reading would really help those students. So that's how tutoring began at South Plains College. In 1980, the Teaching and Learning Center was created with tutoring under that umbrella. Unfortunately, the most recent objectives that we have are from 1999 and 2000 from the Institutional Effectiveness Review from that time. The Learning/Tutoring Center created only 4 objectives. As you can see, they're pretty vague: to improve faculty, administrator, and student awareness, forge partnerships and learning with other entities on campus, such as departments and department chairpersons, gather, analyze, and report data documenting effectiveness. This is when the Institutional Effectiveness Committee began assessing learning and tutoring at the college, and then establish a warmer and friendlier campus environment. Again, the objectives are pretty vague. They don't address tutors specifically. They don't really address instructional areas either. One of the goals of the current tutoring center is to become CRLA certified. CRLA is the College Reading and Learning Association. They have 13 objectives for tutoring centers, and those are listed here. We were CRL certified in math about 10 years ago, but there was a change with the department chairperson in math, and they decided that the CRLA certification was not needed. But there used to be a time where all math tutors were CRLA certified. So some of the guidelines or some of the objectives of CRLA certification include tutoring guidelines, like how to begin a tutoring session, how to end a tutoring session, handling difficult situations such as conflict with students if they're upset about the content that they're learning, or even if they're upset with the tutor, how to manage those situations. That also includes setting goals and planning goals with students, short-term and long-term goals, improving their communication skills while working with students, using active listening and paraphrasing when communicating with students, also increasing the tutor's referral skills. So this includes tutors being aware of what resources are available to students, such as disability services or study skills with advisors. Referring them to a faculty advisor could be another referral. Using critical thinking skills and encouraging the students that they tutor to use critical thinking skills. Compliance with tutoring ethics, with school policies and procedures, and modeling problem solving so that students can walk away from a tutoring session and repeat what happened in that tutoring session. For the evaluability of the tutoring center, when going by the checklist for program assessment evaluability, the program design is pretty solid. The objectives are clear and realistic. They're just old and pretty vague, so that might make that a little bit difficult. The program activities do lead to goals and objectives, especially if they're seeking to get the CRLA certification again. There is a lot of information available, a pretty solid history, but there are some gaps in that history. There were some years that the tutoring program that was used or evaluated in the institutional effectiveness documents, but then 3 years later, it might not have been included, and then there might be a 2-year gap before it was included again. So it's a little inconsistent in the institutional effectiveness evaluation, but there is still a lot of information available. For the conduciveness of the context, things, again, seem to be pretty clear. It's easy to access both internal and external information. The stakeholders are definitely involved and they are interested in this process, so that makes this a little bit easier to do. For the plan for the evaluation, I plan on using interviews with the director of the Teaching and Learning Center and the coordinator for Student Academic Support Services, who is directly over our tutoring program. And I've met with both of them, and interviews have gone well, and they are very available for more information. The data I plan to include, the most recent data we have for tutoring is a 2018 survey that was done for students and faculty over the processes and the effectiveness of tutoring. So that's pretty easy to access and will be available for me to use. The documents I plan to include are the survey, our current tutoring handbook, the CRLA requirements, and institutional effectiveness reports. There are some potential problems that I see in that the documentation is a little bit unorganized. As I mentioned, some years were skipped in the institutional effectiveness process, so there's not a consistent history of evaluation. Also, the history is a little bit scattered because there were a lot of changes in personnel. So we would have a coordinator over tutoring and they would create a policy, create a handbook, but it might not have been implemented before another coordinator came along to improve tutoring at the college. And then there could be some abrupt changes while I'm doing this evaluation. The coordinator is very interested in trying new and different things, so I could be halfway through this evaluation and he might switch something, change a policy or change a procedure, which might disrupt the evaluation. But this is where I am with the evaluation of the tutoring processes in the tutoring center at South Plains College.